Hey everybody, this is Marcus with the North American Dogman Project, State of Mississippi chapter. The topic that we're going to be covering in this video is the infamous Land Between the Lakes Massacre, or the LBL Massacre, which occurred back in 1982 or 1983, depending on, who's telling the story and where you're getting the story from. The thing about this video is I want to put something out there so that perhaps you can see how the tragedy that occurred there in 1982, how this went down, and how it was covered up. Because it is my very strong opinion that a cover up ensued after the death of this family that was vacationing in a recreational vehicle there in the Land Between the Lakes National Park. Now, people will throw up, people who say that it never happened, that there's no evidence. There's no newspaper accounts. There's nothing on television archives, radio station archives. There's no police records. There's no autopsy reports. There's nothing there to support that this event happened. Well, and for the most part, that is true. That information is not readily available. Heck, it's not even available, period. But I want to say this right now. I have a friend. I'm not going to reveal his name. I'm not going to reveal his sources. But I know this gentleman. I know he tells the truth. He speaks the truth. And if he tells you something, you can pretty much take it to the bank. And I really do. I honestly mean that and say that with nothing but the truth. And this person has researched and investigated this tragedy, and he has sources that has confirmed to him and thus confirmed to me that the LBL massacre happened. It was real. It went down pretty much just the way that we have always heard and been told. 4 people lost their lives, and it really did occur. It happened. And Dogman is the culprit, or Dogmen, behind these people losing their lives. Now, we're not going to go into a great big storytelling about what happened. We'll touch on that briefly. I will say this though, real quick. If you want to watch a really good documentary and get the story, the different scenarios that were put together, I would strongly recommend that you check out Elijah Henderson's YouTube channel, Cryptid Studies Institute, the bloodthirsty beast of the LBL. He did a documentary about this, and it was really, really good. So if you want to go beyond me and look into what happened, his documentary is really, really good, and I highly recommend that you go check out Elijah's videos, and especially this documentary that he put together. Very well done, and it will give you the story of what went down in the Land Between the Lakes National Park with this family. Now then, just for the sake of review, in a nutshell, this is what happened with this case. In 1982, a family of 4, a husband, a wife, a son, and a daughter, went into the Land Between the Lakes recreational park, and they were in their recreational vehicle, and they found a place where they wanted to set up camp. And later in the afternoon, as they were finishing up setting up the camp, they were attacked by either a dog man or dog men. And everyone that was there, all 4 people, tragically lost their lives. Word slipped out, word leaked out through various means, and people became aware of it. But as quick as this thing happened, it quickly also became a non-event. Nothing, crickets. This thing dried up, it blew away, and for years, this thing never made the light of day. Eventually, it did come back into uh, the line of sight of various investigators and researchers, and what little bit that could be brought out was brought out, and we do have some witnesses that have come forward that talk to different law enforcement officers that were working at that time that confirmed what happened. But again, the evidence is missing. It's not there. It's gone. So the question is, how? How could all this data, all this information, 4 people losing their lives, how could this possibly happen in 1982 in the Kentucky, Tennessee area? How can that just be done away with? Well, the purpose of this video is I'm going to relate something that happened to me back in the late 80s that shows beyond a shadow of a doubt, when the machinery gets moving, when the machinery gets rolling, to do away with information that's in the public conscious, that is out there for the public, should be out there for the public. There is a piece of machinery that can get rolling, and it can do away with it. And sadly, yes, I'm talking about the government. And I'm going to show you guys what happened to me and how this can be done. Okay, so again, 1982, the family is attacked. They are, they lose their lives, and this thing kind of fades into the background. Now then, let's move up to 1993. Let's look at what happened with my good friend Martin Groves. Martin Groves and his hunting partner are attacked in the land between the lake by a group of Dogmen and a group of Sasquatch. They barely make it out with their lives. And if you want to hear the definitive story of what happened to Martin, let's see, what did I do with my note? I would strongly advise you to go listen to Tony Merkel's podcast, The Confessionals. It's episode number 514. The Confessionals, Tony Merkel's podcast, episode 514. And you'll hear Martin tell you what all happened in regard to him and his partner's attack. Now then, it didn't just stop there. When they managed to escape, the way that Martin and his partner, who were off-duty Tennessee law enforcement officials, by the way, they were police officers, they were sheriff's deputies. The way that they were treated after they went to the ranger station to report what happened to them is absolutely criminal. They were manhandled, they were mistreated, they were threatened with everything imaginable, and you really just need to go listen to their story or Martin's story, and you can get that whole thing. He covers it from A to Z, and you will be shocked, not just with what happened with the Dogmen and the Sasquatch, but also the way he and his partner were treated. So now, that brings us to the year 1987 here in Yazoo County, and this is where my story kind of kicks in, that I think will illustrate to you guys how this can be done. Okay, the local paper here is called the Yazoo Herald, and in 1987 there was a reporter / editor that worked there for them, and I promised this person that I would never use their name and that I would never approach them again after they confirmed for me what happened a few years later. We'll get to that in just a minute. But now I will say this real quick. I want to show you the kind of character that we're talking about with this person. This person was tough as nails. It didn't make a bit of difference in the world if you were a crooked politician, a crooked official, if you were a local store owner and you're ripping off people, if you're, just doing absolute wonders for the community. It didn't matter, good or bad. This person was going to, get that out there. They were going to get the truth one way or the other. And you weren't going to scare them. You weren't going to threaten them. You weren't going to intimidate them and get them to be any other way. This person, I'm going to refer to them as the editor. The editor was as tough as nails. Now, I'm going to show you how tough as nails they are. And I'm going to make a point here. And the point is, if they didn't turn tail and run on this, there's not hardly anything that could make them turn tail and run. But it did happen. And again, we'll get to that here in just a second. Now, this is the front page of the Yazoo Herald from August of 1987. Now, this picture was taken by the editor. And I'm going to bring it over here and let y'all look at it. All right. Herald editor shot by Yazoo County worker. Banner headline. You'll see a man there walking toward this dump truck. That's a county dump truck with county equipment in this person's yard, somebody's yard, and they are doing work with county equipment and materials that they are not supposed to be doing. It's illegal. So this person that you see walking there is going toward the dump truck, and they pull out a shotgun and they open fire on this reporter / editor. The editor is wounded. Shotgun shell shot hits them in the leg. Pieces of gravel hit them in the leg. They're wounded. They're still taking pictures. And they go to the hospital, and you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm walking away. My life's not worth this. Wrong. This person took it all the way. This thing, again, makes the front page of the Herald. People got in trouble, heads rolled, and it was an example. Don't mess with these people at the newspaper. Don't mess with this person, and do what you're supposed to do. Do your job and do it honest. So that brings us to the crux of this story and where I came into play. All right. The year is now 1989. And in 1989, there was a family. I knew the family. I knew the editor. I worked in retail at the time. I dealt with these people all the time, both of them. Good people, hardworking people, and honest as the day is long. Just the salt of the earth. I mean, just good old, country people. Can't beat them. And if they told you something happened, then again, you can take it to the bank. It happened. Well, in 1989, this family, they were out in the woods on their property, coon hunting late one night. All of a sudden, in the middle of their coon hunt, an unidentified flying object comes overhead, and one of the family members that I interviewed and talked to, I interviewed most of them. Some of them have passed on, but I've interviewed them. I have transcripts. I have a lot of data on the case. Even though I wasn't affiliated with MUFON or anybody else at the time, I was thoroughly caught up in the UFO phenomenon. And, of course, when this happened right here in my home county, I jumped all over it. So anyway, this is what happened. The UFO flies over the head there in the woods, apparently at times weaving in and out of the trees, apparently under control. And as it's passing overhead, this thing is spewing off this material, little metallic slivers. They look like little small skinny nails. And it's just peppering the ground with these things. So the family gets scared. They end the coon hunt. They go back home. The next morning they go out and they start looking over their property, and they're finding all these slivers of material. Word makes it into town, and it makes it to the desk of our editor. The editor sends a reporter out. And this is a result of that UFO report that made it into the front page of the Herald. Now, right down here, you're going to see some of the metallic slivers, And right up here, you're going to see that they are holding some mason jars full of this metallic material. So in no time flat, after the Herald is taking their pictures and getting ready to run this story, the government converges on these people's property. They come in, they confiscate all the material, they take everything, they clean the ground with a fine-tooth comb. Again, they take the material that this family has gathered up, they confiscate that. They tell the family, oh, they even put a diver. They put a diver in a small pond that this UFO passed over. They put a diver in there to recover material. That's how serious these people were. They identified themselves. Some of them identified themselves as being from NASA. Some of them identified themselves as being from the U.S. government. That's the best they could get out of these people. So these people are told, shut your mouth. Don't talk to no more reporters. This is over with, and you better keep your mouth shut. This is these government officials talking to, this family. So this thing hits the paper, and it makes a huge sensation. And the scuttlebutt is that it was a Russian rocket booster, that it was a Russian uh, satellite that came in, but there were no real signs of a crash. The people never said that this thing crashed. There was nothing to really indicate that this thing, crash landed on their property. So this thing hits the paper, and of course I light up like a Christmas tree. And I'm waiting for the next article. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I keep on waiting some more. Days go by, weeks go by, a couple of months go by, nothing. So finally, I just decided I'm going to run down to the Herald, and because I'm friends with the editor, I know them, they know me, we're good with each other. Because again, I worked in retail. I knew everybody in Yazoo City and Yazoo County at that point. I'm going to run by and see if they'll take a few minutes and talk to me. So I did. Went into their office, got the pleasantries out of the way, and told them why I was there. The minute I said why I was there, the whole atmosphere in the office changed. And this is what this person told me. The editor told me, Marcus, I'm going to tell you this one time only, and when you leave this office, you do not bring this back to my office. You do not use my name, and you don't ever approach me about this topic ever again. And if you can't promise me that right here and right now, then this meeting's over before it even starts. And I agreed. Of course, I did not promise to not talk about the case because it was a matter of public record. It's a UFO sighting, for heaven's sake. But they just did not want me to come to them ever again. And I have kept that promise, and I always will. I'm not even going to use their name. So anyway, I said, what happened? Basically, I was told by the editor that after the article ran in the Yazoo Herald, a person came to their office identifying themselves as a colonel with the United States Air Force. And this colonel proceeded to tell the editor, this is over. It's done. You're not going to talk about this no more. You're not going to talk to any other outlets like radio station or television station. There will be no more articles in the paper, no pictures, nothing. This is over. It's done. And if you do anything contrary to what I'm telling you in regard to this thing being over, there will be consequences to your career, and there will be consequences when it comes to this newspaper. That's what the editor was told. They risked losing their job, something happening to their job. They risked having something happen to the newspaper. Now, there are forces within the government that can make a lot of things happen. You can lose your job. You can lose your pension. You can lose your business. There's lots of terrible things that can be thrown at you that you can lose that will make you stop and think. And this tough as nails editor that got shot they had to back down. They were like, Marcus, I didn't have no choice. There was nothing else that I could do. I cannot talk about this no more. So I'm asking that you leave and never bring this up with me again. This thing really did happen, they said to me, and it's a lot more to the story than what is out there. It's a lot more strange and mysterious than than is on the street. But I'm done. I'm through. We're through. You have a great day. So I left, and I went home, and I thought about it, and I was totally shocked. As a UFO investigator, I wasn't shocked about people being ordered to be quiet and keep their mouth shut. But for me to see it and witness it right here in my own hometown and own home county, it was just mind-boggling that this could happen right here. So that brings us back to the incident that happened in the land between the lakes. There's no question, especially after you hear what happened with Martin Groves and his partner. If forces within the United States government wanted this thing shut down, if they did not want anything in the paper, if they did not want things on the television, if they didn't want things on radio or wherever, then believe you me, they've got the power, they've got the means, and that's how they shut this thing down. If they could come to Yazoo City and they could shut somebody as tough as this person is up by threatening their job, their career, their future, and their business, then you can bet your bottom dollar that when those poor people lost their lives in the LBL, that's how this thing was shut down. Now, am I ranting and raving against, my country, my government? No, I am not. I love my country. I love my government. I understand that some things need to be kept secret. And I could understand, to a degree, the game and fish people, the park rangers, and the federal government not wanting stories of 7 to 8 foot tall upright walking canines that are roaming this park, scaring the bejesus out of people, hurting people, possibly the cause of people losing their lives. I can understand why they wouldn't want that to get out. I mean, that's a frightening thing to have to admit to people, to the populace, that this is going on and could be going on in this area. But at the same time, I'm right there in the camp with Martin Groves. I think everybody needs to know the truth. They need to know what's out there in our woods. They need to know that these cryptids, and sometimes, yes, they can be very dangerous. They're out there. They're some of them are up to no good. Some of them have bad thoughts going through their brains. Some of them want to hurt things and hurt people. And we should know about this. But that's part of the reason why we investigators and researchers, I know certainly for my sake, and for the North American Dogman Project, the thing of it is we need and want to get this information out there to people. You're not going to get this information around the Monday morning water cooler. I mean, you're just not. You're not going to get it Wednesday night and Sunday morning. Sadly, you're not going to get it in church. I wish they would, because these are things that could very easily tie into safety, security, keeping your family safe, maybe even a scriptural or spiritual nature. Just saying, possibly. Um, you're just not going to get this, and it falls to us to get that information out there and get it to people. And that's the purpose of this video. How was the Land Between the Lakes massacre covered up? There you have it. Personal experience from right here that I witnessed, watched, and experienced right here in my hometown, 1989. So-called government officials came in with threats and intimidation, and they shut this story down. And more than likely, that's what happened in the Land Between the Lakes. If these people, say for example, they were from out of state, if they were from out of state, as it's been alluded, we don't know, but if they weren't from Kentucky or Tennessee and they were from out of state, then it would probably be pretty easy to have their possessions and their remains sent back to their family and loved ones in whatever state they were from, and you're probably not going to have people, questioning and raising Cain about what happened to my family members. So there's a lot to this story, and I would encourage each of you to do your research. Again, I have a friend. I'm not sure if I mentioned this at the start, but I will say this. I have a friend. I consider him a good friend, and I trust him, and he trusts me. And I will not give his name, and I will not reveal his sources. But we had a conversation about the LBL Massacre, and he told me in no uncertain terms, it happened, it went down, it's just the way that we were told, and it was confirmed to him by, how do I say this, things at a high level, that these people lost their lives, all four, there were no survivors, and it really happened. And for me, I absolutely do not question that now. So I will leave you with this. Don't be afraid to go in the woods. Don't be afraid to go camping and hiking. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to give an example of how things can go down. But enjoy the great outdoors. Go camping. Go to the Land Between the Lakes. Go to your local places and hunt and camp and fish. If something goes off in your mind that you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel right, go somewhere else. Move to another campsite. Go to another area of the park or whatever. Listen to your gut and enjoy the great outdoors. Not all of these creatures and cryptids are there to hurt us and harm us. A lot of times they just like watching us. They like seeing what we're doing. They're curious, and most of the time that's all they do. We are their entertainment. And yes, sometimes, like a lot of, most wild animals, you can come up on one in the wrong manner, the wrong way, the wrong time, and you can have a bad experience with the wildlife that's out there. So the same thing goes for Bigfoot, Dogman, or whatever. You just have to be cautious and be careful, and don't be afraid. Again, just be cautious and be careful. So I'm gonna stop this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you kind of see where I'm going with this, and a possible example of how this infamous event was covered up and rolled over. And I hope you like it. And real quick before I go, you can visit the North American Dogman Project at www.northamericandogmanproject. Right there on our front page, we've got a really, really cool big case that we're working on from, of all places, the Land Between the Lakes. So go check that out. Check out those videos. You will be amazed at the case that we're working on from the LBL. You can come to Facebook. The North American Dogman Project has lots of chapters all over Facebook. Again, my Facebook chapter is the Mississippi chapter, and it's open to the public. You can join, and you can see what we're doing. We got a lot of stuff being posted by our members and all, and Hopefully it'll be educational, and you can learn things about Dogman, and tell your friends, tell your family, um, make them aware. And if you have had an encounter, a sighting here in Mississippi, please look me up and find me. My email address is unexplainedms@gmail.com. That's unexplainedms@gmail.com. You can also contact me through the Facebook group, North American Dogman Project Mississippi Chapter, or the North American Dogman Project.com website. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to stop this, and we'll put another video together for you very soon. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button, and we will talk at you guys later. Be safe, take care, and God bless.